Hey guys, what is up? I'm Ian the Junkernaut, and today I'm very excited that I finally get to show you a project that I've been working on and tinkering with for a long time. And this is it. It's a Borderlands 2 inspired Nerf pistol. If you're not that interested yet, let me show you what it can do. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I made this pretty sweet Nerf mod and how you can make one for yourself. It's a little bit more of an advanced, in-depth mod than I've done in the past, and so because of that I've broken the video into two main pieces. The first piece is going to be the overall review of the blaster and the firing demo. The secondary part is going to be for more advanced modders or people who are curious about how they can do this, and it's going to be the in-depth build. If you're interested in those videos, please check out in the description box below. Thanks for checking it out, and I hope you enjoy it. This is actually not a Nerf blaster. It's a company called Boomco that shoots these little kind of like straw darts. Pretty cool. But this is a whip blast, and the way that it's primed is actually by whipping it to the side like that, which is a lot of fun. But it's pretty easy to realize that the major drawback is that you actually have to manually reload the next dart into the chamber. It takes away some of the rapid fire or the dual wielding one-handed priming that really is fun about this blaster. And on the other hand here we've got a Nerf Triad, which uses a smart air restrictor so that no matter how many darts or loaded in the front or what order you put them in, it'll always just shoot one. And so the idea is that we're going to integrate this into this so that this will just take standard Elite, and hopefully I'll be able to make it shoot Steffens or homemade Nerf darts, able to do it fast and rapidly without having to reload by hand every time. Now the major problem with this is that the plunger on the Triad is actually vertical, so the airflow goes in this way and then out and forwards. The Whip Blast on the other hand is just straight. It's called a direct plunger system. So worst case scenario, we're going to have to use some piping to go straight and then into the handle somehow and out. We might actually be able to cut a hole in the back here, just drill a little hole, and actually disassemble it in a way that we can actually pipe it straight in and not have to go around. So that's the first thing to try. There is a screw head in there. There are two little plastic hook tabs on either side, or one on either side. And as far as taking this piece off, I guess you wouldn't actually have had to drill a hole in it to get the screw head out. It might have been difficult to find a screwdriver that was small enough to actually get inside. This is the air restrictor portion. All I did was I pushed this pin out of the handle there and pulled the trigger piece out. I don't think that's even necessary, but that's how you do it if you want to. And then after taking that black screw out that we did earlier in the back, this piece actually just sits right in here. Pretty snug, but I don't think it's glued in or anything, so this is what we're working with. The bottom here has a little hole. That's actually where the air from the piston normally comes in, and it goes around this way. You can even break these dart posts off, these big ones. That'll allow it to be able to shoot Steffens if we want, but we need to keep these air restrictor portions because if we don't do that, it'll basically just shoot like a shotgun every time. It won't be able to use the smart AR feature. The next part that I'm working on is figuring out if there's a way to actually disassemble this piece itself. I think it's becoming apparent that it won't be possible to drill a hole in here to do what I was thinking and have the air come in this direction. It would make the last two barrels fire. The problem is the first one, and that's because this little, it's pretty hard to see, I mean it's a little tiny piece, is actually redirects the air. That's all the way up at the front. I was hoping that this piece where the air inject would be further back in a way that you could kind of reroute it a little bit, but it is so close to the front. You can just tell when the air goes in here and the dart pegs are depressed, air goes out forwards, but if it's not, it just closes it off right there and sends the air back and around. I've taken my Dremel and I've carved this back piece out, you can see, and also sanded down a lot of these ridges and everything that were there. Just used a little sanding disc. Then I went over it real quick just with a brass wire wheel just to kind of smooth it off a little bit. just kind of test cut this piece of pipe. The idea is that, you know, it'll kind of hook onto one of these circular nubs back here, and you can actually glue it like along that seam on both sides, and then you could actually cap the front piece. So there's like a little bit of space up here, obviously, because you need the air to be going through. But it is fitting relatively nicely. I'll have to plug this front piece there. But got that kind of butterfly open. That's really easy. It's just taking out, you know, 6 or 7 or so screws. You know, air-powered portion of this blaster is really simple. You just got a direct plunger tube, you know, with an O-ring and a spring inside of it. The catch mechanism and everything is a little weird, so I'm not going to want to mess with that very much. But really, we just need to worry about this front piece. So right off the bat, I can guarantee that, you know, we can take all this out, because this is for Boomco darts. Don't need any of that. This piece actually was a kind of an interesting air restrictor. Now, we don't need that at all, so we can just take that piece off. This is what we're working with here. The only thing that we're really worried about is how are we going to mount this whole piece into here. So clearly we're going to have to Dremel out some of these posts and everything, and generally speaking it's going to get glued in kind of like that. They had a little plastic bag sitting next to me, just threw it on there, wrapped a couple of rubber bands on it. Don't know if it'll work 100%, but I think it should keep me from losing any of those pieces, or even having to reassemble it when I'm done. So I'm just going to Dremel all that with it in there. I shaved down the edges of this little piece. This actually slides in between these two support pieces for the piston, so I don't have to weaken the frame to put this on there. So I'm going to go ahead and get some plumber's goop, get that attached on, and after it dries and hardens a little bit, I might move on and attach the other side to this piece. This is just a test to see if it's actually functioning properly. So we do have the Smart AR from the Triad attached into the original plunger tube. Okay, so proof of concept right there. Most of this stuff is all stock. I did try and do a spring edition, but I did away with it because I was afraid it was going to put too much stress on the gears and everything on the gun, which is really not the point of this. The first idea that I had 2 clear pieces of plastic piping, and there was a pretty good gap between the two different sizes. I did a little bit of a shoddy job, got a little bit too much glue in there, and also it was just a pretty big gap to be trying to fill. It was functioning, but I could tell that I had a really bad air seal, and also had got a little bit too much glue in there to where it was actually blocking some of the airflow. I ripped it apart and cleaned it all out, soap and water and everything, and then I found that just a regular little slit of 1/2-inch CPVC was pretty much the perfect bridge between my 2 pieces of pipe. So it goes over the small clear piece of tubing, and it goes inside of the thicker piece right here. And so I put that in there, gooped it all together, and that's working much better, keeping it more secure and a better seal. Trying really hard to keep this to where it can still be able to be disassembled. I think I might have to glue a few pieces in, but that being said, with all the glue around the nozzle here now, it was no longer able to fit between those 2 support posts right there. Just took a little lighter, warmed them up enough to where they were able to be a little bit malleable, and shoved the nozzle back through there, and it just formed to the perfect size. I think I need to make a few more cuts on the shell, because currently when I try and close the blaster, it's forcing the Triad barrels to be a little bit too droopy. We need to cut into the external of the shell, which is something I was trying to avoid. I gotta admit, that's pretty satisfying. I started doing some epoxy putty around here as gap filler, putting it on a little bit thick, knowing I can, you know, sand it and everything back. And then the last piece to do tonight is to goop this piece back onto the front so that we've got a nice airtight seal. I filled a lot of the gaps in here, smoothed it out a little bit, made the transition a little bit nicer. Polycarb cover right there that's set in with a screw. Let that sit for about 3 days so it's nice and hard. So now just got to sand that off so it's a little bit more smooth. Already done a little bit of pre-sanding on the blaster, and gonna be painting it up. I'm not sure totally what color scheme I'm gonna do, but I have decided that I'm not going to paint this part at all, just because it's gonna have a lot of rubbing on it from holding the handle, and also the whole sliding mechanism up here, you know, just would wear the paint off. So probably gonna go for a little bit of that gray and black paint. Here's a shot just showing off what the internals ended up looking like in the final build. I did increase the catch spring by probably at least double, maybe 3 times its standard strength to help it catch a little bit more reliably. And you can see where the airflow comes forward through here into the several steps up to the right size, and it goes into the top or bottom. The triads flips upside down in this build, so it goes into the bottom of the triad, and then it feeds into the 3 separate barrels over here. This rod right here is just glued into place so that this front small polycarbonate piece would have a place to seat a screw into. This whole front portion is permanently glued into place, but the blaster can be butterflied and open, so you can still fix or tinker with the internals over here, and this has enough give in it that you can actually pull up and slide out the whole plunger rod and everything. Well guys, I hope you liked the build. If you did, please give me a like and a comment below if you want to see some more stuff like this. I do a lot of different content on the channel. If you don't give me feedback, it's hard for me to know what people want to see. We also have a more formal, just going over the review of this mod, as well as the firing test, in the description box below. Then I'm also going to be selling this blaster on eBay, and so if you want to check that out, it's also going to be down there. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more stuff like this. Until next time, I'm Ian the Junkernaut. Take it easy.